It's a global effect. It's a global effect. It's going to take every nation. It's going to take the United Nations. It's going to take every nation to do this. It's going to take every nation to do this. Are these people dangerous and deadly? Yeah, they are. They are very dangerous, very deadly, because they're driven by a religion that believes in death. And you can't fight that. The only thing they're going to understand is force. But that force cannot come from the U.S. alone. That force that changed the world, that changed the terrorists in Iraq, Afghanistan, in Syria, has to come with all nations. Has to come with all nations. All nations have to be a part of it. It has to be a global effort to rid the world of tyranny, terrorists, and terrorism. It's going to take all nations. It's going to take all humanity. It's going to take every nation in the free world to end us militarily. But it can't be done by the U.S. alone. We don't have the military means to do it anymore. People in our country are hungry too. We need to understand that there are people hungry and starving in Boko Haram, Al Qaeda, the Taliban, Abdullah Nabi. All these people will bring terror to the innocents. They have to be stopped, but they have to be stopped cold. They have to be stopped all at once. This is going to take a world humanitarian effort by every nation. By every nation. That means every nation needs to get involved. Every nation needs to be part of the solution. Every nation needs to be part of the answer. Every nation needs to be involved militarily. We cannot do this all by ourselves. We can pursue these people, but in the end, it's going to take a global effort to rid the world of these stinking, rotten terrorists, because they do nothing but slaughter and butcher and kill innocent human lives. As for President Maliki, he's a flunky. He does nothing, trying to pass a law to marry 9-year-old girls. Iraq needs a new president to begin with. Syria needs a new president to begin with. There's much of what's happened in the world to make terrorism stop. But it has to be stopped globally. It has to be fought globally. It has to be fought globally by every nation, by China, Japan, England, us, Italy, France, Britain, Spain, all of us. All of us have to fight it. All of us have to fight it before it grows out of control. It starts to seep over into our countries. All of us have to fight it. You cannot fight it as one nation. You cannot fight it as one nation. We have to fight it as a world sick of people living off the fear of these terrorists, people living on the fear of these terrorists, people living in the fear of these terrorists, of the thousands and thousands and thousands that have been slaughtered or buried in mud holes and pits. It's going to take a global effort. It's going to take a global effort, which means the United Nations has to play the head role. The United Nations has to take a lead in this. The United Nations has to take the lead in this. And that's the truth. That's the fact. That's the human news. That the United Nations has to take the lead in this. This has to be stopped before it spreads throughout the world. These sick people like ISIS and the Taliban and Al Qaeda are spreading their word of death all over the Middle East. It has to be stopped globally. Not only affects climate warming, it affects children, it affects women, it affects people that are innocent. It has to be stopped globally. It's a global fight. It's not a U.S. fight. It's a global fight. We can no longer have the resources to keep pumping bombs, missiles, and troops into every nation. We have troops in 175 countries around the world. We have troops spread out all over the world. And we cannot do it all by ourselves. We trained the Iraqi people, but they didn't want to fight. They dropped their guns and ran. So what are we supposed to do? Go back over there again? No. Not without every nation on earth being part of this anti-terror act. And that's what you need. You need a worldwide anti-terror act unit. Put one together. People of all nations, troops of all nations. Put one together, troops of all nations. Then you can deal with this. When you've got 750,000 troops that can fight this war globally and through every nation, we can take the lead. But not otherwise. Just can't. There's no human way that with our children hungry and our jobs being lost and our economy tanking, that we can no longer hold up the world by ourselves. We cannot hold up the world by ourselves. It takes everybody. We all have a responsibility as nations to deal with this. We can't deal with it on our own. We just can't deal with it on our own.
Oh, yeah.
That's the human truth. That's the human effect. That's the human reality. People might not want to face it. Blow it off. All the United States will take care of it. The United States will take care of it. Bullshit. It's time that everybody got involved in this. This is a global attack. This is a global attack of terrorism that is spread throughout the world. It's time to stop. It's time to end it. It's time to finish it. You put 750,000 troops together from every nation. You can fight that war. Otherwise, you can't fight that war. Otherwise, you can't fight that war. Everybody wants help from the U.S. We track traders and put up rewards all over the world. We cannot do it all by ourselves. We cannot, must not, and will not do it all by ourselves. Because we are not the police of the world. We are not the police of the world. We can no longer stand by and let other nations stay out of the fight. The fight has to come from everybody. The fight against terrorism has to come from every nation. It has to come from every nation on this earth. China, London, England, France, Italy, Spain, Germany, Japan, all of us, Russia, Ukraine, Iraq, we all have to defend the rights and freedoms and humanities. But we can't do it without a full global force. You need a global force to take on this type of battle. You need a global force to take on this type of error, this type of hell. To stop these butchers in their tracks, you need a global force. You need a global force, a global unit that will go worldwide and take these butchers on, these murderers, these psychopaths, these sociopaths, these religious, non-empathetic killers who think they're going to get a jar of honey for slaughtering innocent human lives. Seems the only thing these people understand is death. Well, you need a global force to do this. You need a global force. It cannot be done by one nation. It just can't. We don't have the resources. We don't have the troops to do it. You need 700 to 750,000 troops to put in these two nations, to secure these two nations for generations to come, so that they get their freedoms, they get their rights, they get their reality, they get their humanities. But you need a global force, and that's the only way it's going to work. That's the only way it's going to work is with a global force. This is a 7 billion human being news. You need a global force. And nobody can tell you anything different. Because that's the fact of human life. Because it is spreading throughout the world. And the only way to stop it is by global force. It's by global force. That means the UN has to get off this duff and start being the UN. That means that everybody has to be involved in this. If we're going to do it right, do it once, do it finally, and assure that there will be no more in the future. If you're going to do it, you got to put 750,000 troops together from every nation. Then you can take on a war like this. Then you can take on wars like this. Otherwise, you can't do it. You can't do it by drone bombing. You can't do it. This has to end. Somewhere the world is going to have to stand on its feet, stand up against these terrorists, and say no more, no more, no more slaughter, no more killing of innocents, no more raping and kidnapping of children, no more bombing of 9/11, no more bombing of Boston, no more bombing in London. It's gonna take global force to do this. This is a 7 billion human being news. I hope people listen to this video. I hope people listen and understand this video. Because it's the reality of human life. That's the fact of human life. Thank you for watching.